What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another CYPRX video breakdown. In today's video, we're going to be diving into a Zoom call that I hosted with the private CYPRX community, showing them how I made over $1,500 trading the forex markets today, utilizing the CYPRX 2.0 strategy effectively and efficiently by understanding fundamentals and combining them with proper technical analysis, understanding certain market conditions, and trading in tandem with the proper order flow of the market. If you all enjoy these types of video breakdowns, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe, going into a detailistic perspective on how I operate efficiently in the markets. Make sure that you guys are taking notes, and if you all want to dive a little bit deeper and you want to actually learn my strategy in the markets, head over to CYPRXtrading.com. We would love to have you inside the private CYPRX community. There's a multitude of options that you can choose from to dabble into what we offer here via our educational platforms at CYPRX. Many blessings to you guys. With that being said, let's jump into today's video breakdown. Let's head over to the Zoom call and share with you all this private breakdown from within inside our CYPRX community.
Position. $1,500 secured.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Hopefully you all are having a good trading week, or just a good week in general if you're not actively trading in the markets. Today I want to just break down the trade that I placed this morning during New York session. I won't talk about the two trades prior to this. I've traded 3 times this week. I caught a move here yesterday during New York session in this area with this little tiny scalp here. And then we also called a trade last night during Asia session with this little tiny position here. So I won't break down those trades. I shared them in the chat, and I've also been sharing my perspectives and my analysis on GBP USD. And so I just want to break that down for you all so you can see that I'm, actively gauging price action, and I'm trying to just keep you all in the loop with what my perspective is, higher time frame, and why I'm taking buy positions. And so right now, as we touch on fundamentals during this breakdown, we're still seeing a stronger UK economy, or economic expansion on the UK front, and some different figures, particularly the PMI figures. And so remember that the market's still gripping on to this narrative that the Fed is presumably going to cut rates at a more rapid pace than the Bank of England, which is why we saw strength the vast majority of August last month, where from roughly about August 5th through the 10th, we saw a major turnaround on the higher time frame on GBP USD. And we caught buys from down here in this area. You can see here's August 5th when the market bottomed out through the 10th that week. And we rode those buys all the way up into the high 1.3s. Okay. I know that you guys remember that. So for any individuals that didn't catch that, we've been riding this wave for some time. And the reason why we were able to catch this bullish wave is because of the divergence between the central banks, where the market was pricing in more rate cuts from the Fed and less from the Bank of England. That narrative, as of right now, still stands. Market's still pricing in more rate cuts from the Fed. We're waiting for the NFP figures and the unemployment rates on Friday to, kind of catch the gist as to what the Fed might potentially do, whether they're going to cut at a 50 basis point rate cut if we see weakening labor market figures. Maybe they consider a 25 basis point rate cut, or maybe the data on Friday, the NFP figure and the unemployment rate comes out extremely healthy, and they decide to hold rates longer, which would change the ideology that the Fed is going to cut rates at a more rapid pace than the Bank of England, right? So I don't want to just bore you guys to death and cover all of that, but if for anybody that's been tracking, we've been riding that wave, and I just want to give you guys an update. That's why I'm kind of talking through it. Now, to fast forward into the GBP USD chat, let's see if my highlights stayed. Dang it, they didn't. I hate when that happens. I don't know why Discord doesn't allow that. We're going to start here. I mentioned yesterday, I said in order for GU to gain bullish momentum, we need to see price back above the cycle level of the 1.355 with continued bullish order flow. So as of right now, price is still below that level. And I mentioned that if any point in time price fails to break above that 1.355, a deeper retracement down into the 1.31 flat to the 1.3 is on my radar. And sure enough, price dropped straight down into those levels. Usman was sharing some nice institutional delta zones. And I mentioned here in the chat, it says, looks like price is about to drop straight into the delta zones. Sure enough, price dropped straight into the areas of interest that I mentioned. You can see here, we failed to break above the point 3155, and we dropped straight into the 0.310. And then I mentioned to you guys that I personally do not take sells, so I'm being patient. Again, elaborating on how I trade the markets. I don't try to sugarcoat anything or manipulate your guys' perspectives. I tell you all straight up that I'm a buyer. When the market is pulling back or the market is bearish on any assets that I personally trade, I sit on my hands and I wait for discounted positions or buying opportunities. That's just how I've become profitable. Looking back at my track record, I realized that 90% of the positions that I'd lose were sells. And so I just cut sells out and, capitalize on my strengths. Obviously, of course, I could, fix some of my weaknesses, but why change something that's working for you, especially in this market, right? So, with that being said, you can see here in this area, price did come down into the deltas, like I had mentioned up in the previous section of the chat, which is what I was waiting for. And as always, you guys have had these deltas well in advance. Not that everybody uses them, not that I use them all the time, because I don't, but when they align with my area of interest, which for me personally, I look for higher time frame areas of interest to trade from. And sure enough, yesterday, we can see that this delta, if I just extend this over to the left-hand side, I look for 4-hour areas of interest by highlighting from the candlestick bodies down to the wick. And sure enough, those deltas aligned with that. So that's usually when I tend to use the deltas. And so yesterday that aligned perfectly with the higher time frame discount. I don't usually use the deltas on lower time frames because sometimes they manipulate my decision making, but when they align with my higher time frame bias or my areas of interest, I tend to use them. So with that being said, I just wanted to show you guys that I've been telling you all that I'm bullish above certain psychological levels. For example, here is our fundamental report from September 3rd, 2024. And just reading this small, tiny piece of analysis right here, as I said, I believe that GU remains in an uptrend as long as price stays above the 1.3 flat. So you guys had the psychological levels that I am bullish above, and that I will continue to look for a bullish bias as long as price is above the 1.3 flat or the 1.31. And you could see that just most recently we saw a bounce from the 1.31. So you have the perspective in your mind. Hopefully, if you're reading the analysis, okay, Cypress is looking for buys. Why is he looking for buys? Maybe I should potentially, again, I'm not trying to sway anybody's opinion, but maybe I should potentially trade with the higher time frame trend. That's what I'm trying to get people to see. Not that that trend has been diminished or anything like that. We have to wait for that Friday data to really see where the market's going to go. But as of right now, the market's still holding on to that narrative that we've been covering since back at the beginning of August. Okay. That is yet to change. So for now, I'm just trying to show you guys that's why I'm taking buy positions. So that way you all understand why Cypress buying. So hopefully you understand that. Rant over. Okay. Moving on. Last night during the London session, we had some UK services sector data, where you can see here the PMI survey data from the S&P Global illustrated that the post-election upturn in business activity in New York was sustained in August. This was accompanied by easing inflationary pressures across the service economy. The headline seasonally adjusted S&P Global UK Services PMI Business Activity Index, geez, that was a mouthful, registered at 53.7 in August, up from 52.5 in July. So we are seeing some economic expansion on the UK services sector front, which again tends to drive some slight demand for the Great British Pound, as we can see here, heading down to the lower time frame. So now you guys know my 4-hour time frame bias and above, right? 4-hour and above, to me personally, the way that I've been analyzing the markets is that GU is still bullish. As long as that central bank divergence holds weight, we are going to continue to play those buy positions to the upside. So with that being said, yesterday we had some mixed data from the US that came on at 5:30. You can see how that negatively affected GU temporarily as the dollar did gain some strength. But as mentioned, we failed to break above that 3155 key psych level right here. And that allowed for an environment for GU to discount itself. And we dropped straight into the deltas. And then sure enough, on the lower time frame, we can see here an institutional pattern. Bank and financial institutions, at least the way that I see it, right? They set up some type of liquidity trap. Early buyers here in this area had a fake bull bounce. Markets came back, liquidated those early buyers or any leverage traders beneath those lows. Then market makers came in, bought up discounted price, pushed price above a more recent lower high, breaking market structure, signaling to us that now buyers are back in control. If sellers were still in control, the market would have continued with the downtrend, right? However, we did not do that. After this break in market structure right here, because again, the reason why we're doing this, we're looking back a couple of sessions, is because we want to be trading in tandem with the higher time frame trend, which I just showed you guys was bullish in my personal perspective, but then also combining lower time frame analysis as well. And so if the lower time frame is telling us that the market's making higher highs and higher lows, where you can see here, the market did not make a new swing low. Instead, it made a series of higher lows. We want to be trading in tandem with that intraday trend. We don't want to be trading with the previous trend here, which showed us that this was just a manipulative move to sweep these lows, get in at a discounted price. Now buyers are back in control. We know that now because the market did not make a new swing low. It instead made a series of higher highs and higher lows, right? You guys following, tracking so far? I don't want to lose anybody. Any questions for this part on how I was gauging yesterday's price action and why I was trading bullish today? Remember that in the CYPRX 2.0 content, we like to go back a session or two to just look at what the previous market makers were doing to try and trade in tandem with what they were doing. And so here you can clearly see that buyers are now back in control. Not only did we see some buy pressure bounce off of a delta, but we also know, keeping in mind that this was particularly this delta over to the left-hand side, like I just showed you guys, a higher time frame area of interest, which tends to hold a lot more weight in terms of momentum and the trade direction that you're trading in, right? So with that being said, rolling over into this Asia session, we can clearly see the intent of the market makers yet again, because here is where the new daily candlestick opens in this area when the market closes for New York session and rolls over into Asia. We can see a low here in this area. And during Asia session, the market makers did not make any new lower lows or lower highs, signaling to us again that during this Asia session, buyers are still in control. So why on earth would we want to be selling this price action if buyers are showing us intent to take price higher, making again a series of consecutive higher lows and higher highs? Right? Now rolling into London session, doing the same analysis, we can see that London session, at the beginning of their session, they pushed price down into discount, and they simply just bought from where Asia session bought from. Sure enough, continuing bullish order flow, we also had some upbeat fundamentals from the UK supporting our overall bullish trajectory. The PMI, Purchasers Managers Index survey, gives us a snapshot. I just mentioned to you guys how that came out in expansionary territory. Gives us a snapshot of how businesses in the UK are doing. In August, the survey showed that business activity, especially in the services sector like retail and finance, was growing faster than in July. This growth, along with lower inflation prices rising slower, suggests that the UK economy is in good shape. When the economy looks strong, investors tend to buy more Great British Pound, expecting its value to rise, which creates more demand for the currency. And you can see that during London session, we saw some bullish momentum for the Great British Pound. So rolling into this New York session, now you guys have seen my higher time frame perspective, why I've been buying. You guys have now seen my intraday analysis. When I come and I sit at the charts at the beginning of New York session, I do this same exact analysis. I look back 2 or 3 previous sessions and I try and attempt to determine where the order flow is headed. We can see here, clear as day, the market maker CYPRX 2.0 pattern that we pay attention to. We see a liquidation of a low, a break in market structure, and a higher low that comes in after. We want to be trading in tandem with this order flow, right? So with that being said, I then used in detail the CYPRX 2.0 content where I look back at previous Asia and London sessions. If we know that the market is bullish, I want to be buying at a discount from where Asia or London bought from. So on the 15-minute time frame, I highlight from the candlestick bodies down to the wick, and I extend that over to the right-hand side to give myself a lower time frame area of interest. So doing that for Asia session, seeing where Asia session bought from before they pushed price up, breaking previous market structure lower highs. Same thing in London, we can see here, taking from the candlestick bodies down to the wicks and extending that over to the right-hand side. This is where London session bought from, extended price up, breaking previous highs, continuing the overall bullish trend. So rolling into this New York session, these were my two areas of interest where I wanted to be an immediate buyer from, based off the ideology that banks like to buy at a discount from where previous financial institutions bought from. Plain and simple. This is literally the CYPRX 2.0 content to the T. When New York session opened, I knew that there was some fundamentals that came out at 5:30 or 8:30 a.m. Let's go over to that real quick. We can see here Wednesday we had some trade balances released, and we have now JOLTS job openings, which comes out in about 20 minutes. But this morning we had the trades balance released. That didn't really negatively affect anything, move market direction. And so what I was doing is I was just using a carryover from the fundamentals, the upbeat fundamentals that were driving demand for the Great British Pound during London session, to stack my confluences. If nothing changed the upbeat sentiment from the London session, meaning no upbeat data from the US came out after this, driving more demand for the dollar, then we're going to continue not only with the overall technical analysis trend, which was showing us an uptrend intermediary on the lower time frames, but also trade in tandem with the most recent fundamentals, which were giving some strength to the Great British Pound, right? So you guys can kind of see how I was stacking my analysis. Jumping down to the lower time frame, here's the trade that I placed today. I sent you guys a little tiny screenshot in the chat. Here you can see my entry on TradingView. I closed the position with about $1,500 in profit. I don't know where the screenshot is, but it was in the chat. And so here you can see beginning of New York session. Remember, we don't trade the manipulation window. So that takes place from roughly about 3 a.m. And that's Pacific time, Pacific Standard Time, because I have my chart set for Los Angeles UTC, primarily because I lived in California for 5 years. But you can see here from 3 a.m. over to 5:30 a.m., that is when we attempt to avoid the markets. Reason being is because that is when the vast majority of these algorithms, where these traders are not sitting at their chairs, their trading desks, passing price action over from London to New York. We attempt to avoid that manipulation. We can see early sellers here in this area above these highs. So I drew myself some equal highs for some potential targets. As long as price maintained the overall bullish trend and trajectory that we just went over, these were going to be my first initial take profit areas, as we can assume that retail traders or smaller market participants have open orders here in the form of stop losses. Right? Sure enough, after 5:30, we can see these yellow areas being my two areas of interest from previous Asia and London sessions. We can again on the lower time frame, now we're on the 1 minute, see the same market maker pattern that we were seeing on the higher time frame. Let's go back just to show you guys what I'm talking about. Remember, here in this area, when price tapped into a delta, what did we mention take place? We mentioned let's go back to the 15 minutes, excuse me. We mentioned a low here. We mentioned a violation of that low. And we mentioned a move higher, breaking previous bearish market structure, followed through with a higher low that continued the overall trend. This same exact pattern on the higher time frame that I pay attention to is the same exact pattern that we got on the lower time frame down on the 1 minute, just to show you guys why it's so crucial that you learn how to identify this pattern. Here you can see the same exact pattern. Here's a low, violation of that low, a move higher that breaks previous bearish market structure. So now this is a BOS showing us buyer's intent. We then create a higher low that takes price higher. As soon as we saw that, not only are we rejecting this previous London buy area, but the market is now outside of the manipulation window. I personally, I've talked to you guys about this before, that for some reason, 4 minutes after a 5:30 mark, so that means 5:34, 8:34, I don't know what me and Justin came across, but 9 times out of 10, if you go back and you back test 100 different trading days, 80 to 90% of those trading days, you're going to see a market move at 8:34, 10:34, right? 1:34. I don't know why, but just go test it. I promise you it's going to blow your mind. And sure enough, look right down here. 5:34 on the dot, we can see that the market slightly pulled back, and that is where they injected liquidity into the market, breaking this previous market structure high. So I saw that as an opportunity to continue with the overall trend, to come and immediately tack these equal highs, continuing with the overall higher time frame trend. I placed some buy stops above these areas. We created a higher low, nice safe stop loss beneath the previous low right here, where the market bounced from the London session discounted area. And I simply just targeted take profit 1, zooming out. London session highs was my take profit 2, and we got a nice risk to reward ratio. Plain and simple. This is the CYPRX 2.0 strategy to the T. Understanding how to analyze fundamentals to stack your confluences, then going down to the higher time frame. Daily and 4-hour we know has been bullish, so we want to be trading with that momentum. At least that's how I personally trade. You could trade against that if you like to take those intraday leverage sell positions for some deeper discounts on the higher time frame. I just personally don't do that. Jumping down to the 15-minute, we analyzed how price was bullish intraday from previous sessions. We saw the market sentiment shift here, bounce from the deltas, which Usman gave in advance. So we had all of this information before price even came down into the deltas. Then we did a quick analysis of previous Asia and London sessions to get our overall intraday bias. Then I showed you all how on the 1-minute time frame, we created the same exact pattern, CYPRX 2.0 strategy that we like to pay attention to, which is a low, liquidation of low, shift in market structure, breaking previous sell pressure, and a higher low that comes in after to give us that confirmation that buyers are in control. All that was left to do was for you to manage your risk properly, take profit properly, and control your emotions and not overthink things. Easy scalp position on GU, in and out of the markets, buying at a discount from where London session bought from, right? So at the end of the day, hopefully this breakdown helped you guys out, at least to some degree, understand why I was buying today. So if you all enjoyed that video breakdown, do me a favor, smash that thumbs up button and subscribe. No gimmicks, no hopium, no bullish crap promising you guys that you're going to become profitable overnight and all this just jargon like the vast amount of retail gurus on the internet promise you all. Really diving into fundamentals, getting a firm understanding about certain market conditions and how to trade in the direction of an institutional order flow. Hopefully you guys took something valuable away from this video breakdown. I know that I'm not sitting here boasting a whole bunch of money on the internet, which again is something that we tend not to do here in the CYPRX community because we want to show people that that is not what trading is about. Trading and investing is about taking a mature and strategical approach and crafting a skill, right? Becoming efficient as a market participant on the retail side of things, understanding how to trade in tandem with these larger institutions that actually control the order flow of these markets. If that's something that intrigues you and you want to take your education a step further, come join us. We'd love to have you on the team. If not, then continue to stay subscribed to the YouTube, smash that thumbs up button. We do appreciate the love and the support. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next video breakdown.